Welcome to Normal Islands Live. I'm Curtis Daly, and I'm delighted to be joined by the brilliant Louisa Munch. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you? Good.
No, I feel really good actually. Start of the week Monday. I feel like the weekend absolutely flown by. Actually, how was your weekend? Let me ask. Let's start with that.
Busy, just planning lessons and doing TikToks these days.
Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
a very own TikTok, Instagram star, haven't we? But we've got some great stories coming up as well, and I can't wait to hear Louisa's insights. But this is what we've got coming up on tonight's show. The train stabbing is immediately being weaponized. Reform targets children with special needs, and Labour desperately pleads people to return to the party. Now, you can help us grow by visiting turnleftmedia.co.uk/support to help fund our work, or by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p. But on to our first story. So many of you will have heard about the awful stabbings at Huntingdon train station on Saturday, but no surprise, it's been hijacked for political purposes. And I think it's routine now. When a violent attack happens, the first thing is speculation from those who can weaponize horrific events to suit people's agenda. Now, if you didn't hear what happened, here's the lowdown. Passengers travelling from Doncaster to London were attacked in a mass stabbing on a train on Saturday night. 11 people received treatment in hospital following the attack. One, a member of the train staff, is in a critical but stable condition. Two British men in their 30s were initially arrested, while police said there was nothing to suggest it was a terror incident. So, two people were arrested, but one was released. Now, we have more information on the suspect. Anthony Williams, 32, from Peterborough, was charged on Monday with 10 counts of attempted murder. Police said he has also been charged with another count of attempted murder and possession of a bladed article in connection with an incident at Pontoon Dock DLR station in the early hours of the same day. Anytime an incident like this happens, people clamour for information to be released, but when half of the facts are open to the public, that's when you get a whole host of misinformation. Now, Tom Harwood tweeted, "It's been over 14 hours. The police have told us they have to." Sorry, I'll start that again. "It's been over 14 hours. The police have told us they hold two suspects. Eyewitnesses have described what they believe the attackers looked like. People are fighting for their lives. Why are we still waiting for the police to say what the suspects they hold look like?" And this is the problem. I think police should only release information when they have the full facts. I mean, what if they released the name of the second person who was released? I mean, this would ruin the life of an innocent man. But look, let's be completely real here. A lot of racists want their bias to be confirmed. Even though the suspect who was charged is British, the far right have already made this a race issue. So we got an exchange here. Mukhtar initially said on Twitter, both of the suspects were born in the UK. Matt, as in Matt Goodwin, was jumping to conclusions as usual. And Matt Goodwin quote tweeted him saying, "So were all the 7/7 bombers. It takes more than a piece of paper to make someone British." I mean, what exactly makes someone British then? I mean, I think we can all see what he's trying to say here. Although Matt can't seem to get his narrative straight. This is what he said about being British in September. "If I identified as Pakistani, would I be from Pakistan? Of course not. Britishness is a nationality. Englishness is an ethnicity. Ethnicity. This is not hard." So which is it, Matt? I mean, is Britishness a nationality or an ethnicity? This is what happens when you're racist. And yes, I'm calling Matt a racist. That racism is illogical. It's stupid. Now, when the media focuses on certain stories above others, that's when a narrative is formed. You may not have heard of David Nouch. He is a 31-year-old white man who threatened people with a blade and assaulted two officers in a racially aggravated assault at the beginning of October. But it's not just about highlighting certain stories, it is the fear that the media creates. Yes, knife crime still happens, as demonstrated on Saturday, but would you know that violent crime is actually down? So the chances of you being stabbed by a stranger is around half of what it was since the year 2000. Yet, despite the statistics, people feel less safe. The attention on such crimes have been weaponized by the right wing, and it's the fault of, they say, mass migration. It's the fault of culture and religion. Yet they neglect to mention 45 years of neoliberalism, 15 years of austerity, with mental health services being gutted. Which is why many transport staff have gone on strike. Yes, for better paying conditions, but also to save the jobs of train guards. The RMT has been on strike many times in order to save the guards on the grounds of safety. Yet this is what the right-wing media think of those who protect the public. So this headline, as you can see, this is the Daily Mail denigrating train guards when clearly they are important. Now, it is worth noting that crimes on railways have increased. Crime on the network has been increasing for some time. In 2024 to 2025, BTP, the British Transport Police, recorded 7,405 crimes against its staff, an 8% increase on the previous year. This is followed by nearly 10,000 assaults on members of the public and passengers in 23-24. A startling 17% increase on the year before. In total, crime was up on the network. The BTP recorded 5% more crime in 24-25 than it did in the previous year. Yet, the BTP has been facing big cuts, with more to continue. British Transport Police is facing a funding shortfall of nearly £10 million for the 25-26, falls neatly into a backdrop of an increasing threat of crime towards the railway that puts its safety at risk. But instead of looking at systemic problems, we have Labour Defence Secretary John Healey calling on the public to be more vigilant.
Well, for me, the British public are we're pretty tough, pretty resilient. We're not going to be deflected from carrying out our everyday lives, and that's right. I don't want people to feel that they can't or they shouldn't, and they will. But I think it requires us all to be more vigilant about our electronic devices, about the risk of cyber fraud, and cyber attack, and just be more vigilant for looking out for others around us.
I mean, I just think it's crazy to ask people to be more vigilant when first of all, people are vigilant anyway. But why isn't he talking about austerity? Louisa, what do you make of the responses from the stabbings on Saturday?
I want to be quite straight to the point here, because fascism is predicated and fueled by fear and aggrievement, and I think it's about time we start using that term. And these people that we're talking about, the white working class, like, they do have something to fear, and that's worsening inequality. It's falling living standards. Their lives are literally becoming harder to live, and it is an existential crisis that they're facing, but it's caused by an economic system that allows for the rich to eat the poor. And when this attack is deeply psychological and economic and perpetrated through like these unseen forces sort of thing, to give you like a kind of critical theory point of view, the threat isn't visible. So these physical acts of violence, like stabbings, gives this violence a face, a weapon, and importantly, a race, and when neoliberalism has taught us that we only have ourselves to blame for our failures for the past 50 years, scapegoats are incredibly appealing to wounded, the aggrieved, the dispossessed, and obviously the white working class in this sense. So I just think it was sort of inevitable that this is going to happen. And as well, like this physical violence that we do see through these, whether it is stabbings, it sort of gives a excuse to follow with violence. And that violence is very, very difficult to stamp out once it begins. And I think we need to be really, really careful about how this is being perceived and where this is going in the media.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you made about the invisibility of sort of economic problems, because, of course, violence, especially stabbing, is very visceral. It is very real. We're not downplaying it. But I suppose, and that's why I talk about sort of the media narrative, that despite the fact that violent crime is generally on the down, it doesn't really matter. When you see these instances, when you have the media reporting on it, it feels very real. It feels like it's increasing. But something about the economic problems we've faced from Thatcher from 45 years, it's less visible. So I think it's, generally probably harder to convince people that actually these crimes are sort of an effect of poverty, inequality, and austerity. I do notice, though, that the right wing have completely shifted from economic policy. I mean, I would say the Conservatives were the strongest when it came to, well, the rhetoric was quite strong on economic policy with like David Cameron. He managed to win the argument on, living within your means. And the right wing has completely, fundamentally shifted that they won't touch economics. It's all about culture, religion, and race. And obviously the left, we've always talked about economics, but we have a louder voice. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the right has pivoted from saying, we need to be fiscally prudent to actually, let's just flood the market with culture wars?
I think part of it is due to the fact that this is becoming extremely emotional. What the white working class face is this constant aggrievement, this constant dispossession, and making sense of that is very, very difficult when it has been 50 years of neoliberalism. And it's not something that you're going to easily be able to convince people of. It's sort of our responsibility on the left to communicate these ideas the best way we can. But we have to also recognize that this is deep wounds, and that to get very psychoanalytic, like it's the death drive, it's always towards self-destruction or destruction of others. And that is exactly what the far right are preying on. And if we don't tackle that, and we don't tackle and recognize the emotional pain that has been caused by neoliberalism, then they will become prey, easy pickings for far right leaders, because the weakest in society, and they will find strongman leaders the most appealing. You always find a strongman leader appealing when you feel the weakest. So it's sort of the left's job to fight on both the macro level, but also the micro level. Speak to your mate, speak to your brother, speak to your nan, and talk to them about what they truly are threatened by, what they truly feel that they fear of losing. And I think that's where we need to start having those conversations and unpacking those emotions.
I really, really agree with that second bit, the sort of micro campaigning, shall we say? Because yes, we talk about politics and the economy in a macro kind of way, in a holistic way, and of course we need to do that. But it's the individual conversations we have, which I find that like sometimes the left, we can be quite weak on that. Not because we don't have anything to say, but maybe we just get so into the almost existential. I mean, I can do that. I did ask you your thoughts. I mean, how do you feel when someone like John Healey says, well, we just need to be more vigilant? I mean, first of all, it kind of tells me, it feels like he's saying people aren't vigilant anywhere. I feel like we are. I don't know about you. I mean, when I'm out somewhere, I've got my wits about me. I mean, maybe not, I will go as far to say it's offensive, but what's your knee-jerk reaction when he says you need to be more vigilant? Almost like exporting the problems onto the public, despite the fact that we've had systemic underfunding, systemic cuts, and it's like you yourself need to sort of individualize the problem.
Well, yeah. And vigilance is intentionally very vague, isn't it? Vigilant of what? It's saying that this violence is visible. It's something that you can see. It's in a face, it's in behavior, when it's not. Violence is not just stabbing. It's not just physical violence. Violence is homelessness. Violence is underfunding. We know that this systemic violence isn't something you can be vigilant about on the train. And yet, of course, it's important that we are vigilant about our own safety and other people's safety, because it is literally, a matter of survival, especially I know all about it being, a woman. And that is important, but it's intentionally vague. We can't be using this sort of language. And it's funny because what we should be vigilant about here is the language that is being used in the media. It's November, it's the month of remembrance, and it seems we have forgotten the 1930s. It seems we have forgotten what we fought against. And that is what we should start to be more vigilant about, the language that is being used, and people that are being scapegoated.
Yeah, I also think we should be vigilant of the flag shaggers. You know, where's your fucking poppy? Although, Louisa, I notice you're not wearing your poppy. I mean, I can't say anything. I ain't got one either. But I can't wait for that. The season of the flag shagging and the poppy mania. Excellent analysis. I agree with a lot of that. We're going to move on though to our second story. The Reform Party has attacked many things, but one thing I didn't have on my bingo card is attacking children with special needs going to school. Council spends more than £2 billion on special needs school transport. Latest report from National Audit Office. This is not sustainable. That was Richard Tice, by the way. Richard Tice is attacking councils for spending money on helping children with special needs get to school. And that's insane. And by the way, I think that's a pretty good use of taxpayers' money. Now, this is the article Tice shared. Around 520,000 children with special educational needs SEND were eligible for taxpayer-funded transport to and from school in the 2023-24 tax year, which cost local authorities £2.32 billion, £415 million over budget, according to a report by the National Audit Office. The NAO said the cost increase was due in part to the number of children travelling further to schools that can meet their needs, rising by 166% between January 2025 and January 2025. Sorry, January 2015 and 2025, 10 years, from 240,000 to 639,000. An increase in fuel prices as well as higher wage bills further drove up costs, according to the NAO. The watchdog urged councils to ensure funding aligns more closely with actual local needs. Excuse me, I got a bit of a cough, actually. But why are children with special needs having to travel further? Children with special educational needs are having to travel long distances to school due to lack of suitable provision near home, councils have suggested. Budgets for home to school transport are under considerable pressure as many special schools are full, which is forcing pupils to travel further, according to a local government association. So it seems that due to austerity, many schools cannot provide adequate support for children and are needing to travel further, driving up costs. But given that reform also supports austerity and are promoting the UK Doge, which is literally another word for austerity, then they support the very same economic policies which are causing councils to spend more. This is Nigel Farage's upcoming pitch promising cuts. Farage will vow to get public spending under control in an attempt to boost the economy. He will say reform will get public spending under control so that the nation's borrowing costs come down. Then, and only then, will I cut taxes to stimulate growth. We must get the economy growing. Farage will add, we are the pro-business party. We will reduce the size of the bloated state. We will bring expertise into government. We will reduce regulation and the power of the regulators. We will make Britain a competitive, good place to invest, to work and to live. But I know we can only cut taxes once the deficit is under control. I mean, this is literally what the Tories argued for and implemented over the last 15 years. In what way are reform different? I mean, literally everything he said there was about cutting, and then he said we need to cut taxes for growth. Exactly what Liz Truss said. But after 15 years of austerity, you've got Nigel Farage saying the exact same thing. And remember, a lot of working class people are being swayed by reform. He said we are a pro-business party. We've got the Tories, we've got Labour, we don't need a third one. That's 3 pro-business Thatcherite parties, but they're anti-establishment. So, can we trust reform on running councils? Well, despite reform's economic platform of tax cuts and austerity, it doesn't seem to be going well for them. So 8 reform councils are looking to increase taxes by 5%, despite the fact that they promised to cut them and wanted to reduce so-called wasteful spending. So Richard Tice thinks spending money on essential services, including getting children with special needs to school, is a problem, but not this. Yes, this is a reform-led council in Nottingham pledging to spend 75 grand on flags. Each flag is going to cost £475 each. The literal opposite of cutting wasteful spending. Absolutely insane stuff. Louisa, what are your thoughts on Tice's interjection on helping children with special needs?
Like, can we actually punch any further down than disabled children? I don't think so. It genuinely is, how low can we go here? And that's the real question. You know, what is the scapegoat of the week? Is it asylum seekers? Is it people on PIP? You know, this all speaks to this society where everyone is your enemy, right? Everyone is taken from you. That is protectionism, isn't it? And that old cliche, like divide and rule, but really this is an attack on us. This is an attack on the public. Like, we can't mobilize against like private greed or stolen corporate wealth if we're arguing over which defenseless group is most to blame here. And what is the alternative as well? Like, are you not going to send these children to school? And that just speaks to this human capital thing. You know, if you're not economically productive, then, well, you're not if you're not productive to the market, you're not productive to life itself. And I just think, again, this is very, very dangerous territory that we have seen before and we need to be vigilant about, because genuinely these SEN kids are defenseless, you know, and this, it shouldn't, it's honestly, it's disgusting.
I mean, it was funny because I was watching Zara Yusuf on Laura Koonsberg, and obviously the debacle over those on disability benefits with anxiety, because obviously that person in Question Time audience said, I think she was talking about her personal experience. I never actually saw the clip, but a lot of people attacked her by saying she shouldn't be on HIP because she's got anxiety. She's gone to Question Time. And anyway, Zai was making the point that we need to get people off of benefits and into work. And immediately I just thought, this is the neoliberal hellhole we still live in. It's not we need to, deal with people's mental health crisis to make them better and happier. It's no, we need to make sure that they're physically able and happy enough, I guess, to go into the world of work. And that is basically what we have become. We are a cogs in a machine of the capitalist system, which is how education basically functions. Education has been gutted, and it's just neoliberalism because, the arts and creativity has been sucked out. And it's all about how you can be a cog in the machine and what financial value you can bring to the table. And it's funny how Reform, who, by the way, I think this interjection from Reform and Farage saying, we need to be the party of fiscal prudence, we need to get down the debt. After this train stabbing, especially when unions are saying, we've been facing cuts, we need to spend more money to keep people safe, and Reform have tried to be the populist, and they're now actually making anti-populist arguments. I mean, what do you think about that? Because, I mean, we know that Reform are full of shit, right? But they've tried to be populist when they speak about immigration, for example. They said they've cut the 2-child benefit cap. Whether they will or won't, I don't know. They said they've renationalised steel. These things, they're being populist here. But then Farage has literally said, oh, actually, we're going to be fiscal conservatives.
I think as well, like, they're not dealing with any issues, are they? Truly, like no. You said, it's populism. They're truly just speaking to this emotional feeling of disenfranchisement, dispossession and stuff, and like mental health in particular is so dangerous to be spoken about in this way, because if you depoliticize mental health, if you say that people are anxious just because they're anxious, it takes away from asking why these people are anxious. Maybe it's really tough out there. Maybe we are overworked. Maybe the cost of living crisis is incredibly stressful. Anxiety is about the future, is worrying about the future. And I feel like if you don't have a bit of anxiety, then there's probably something wrong with you, because the future does look extremely bleak.
I mean, yeah, look, obviously mental health is complicated, but you cannot separate the material conditions we're in. The fact that our age, I think you might be a bit younger than me. I'm getting on a bit actually. But for me, right, it's before the world of work, we had the Iraq War, which I don't really remember at the time. But then we had the 2008 financial crisis. That was 2008, and I didn't start work until 2010, so that was already before work. Then we had, you know, the pandemic or the austerity pandemic, housing crisis. Like for us growing up, we've had nothing but crises. We don't see anything in the future. And like, yeah, if you don't have some form of mental health illness or issue, then fuck me, you must be Superman. But it's extremely worrying that Reform are just parroting the same thing. Also, right, the problem is austerity again, because austerity's never been a cost-cutting measure, right? I mean, Nigel Farage did actually correctly say that the debt has tripled under the Conservatives, right? But the debt tripled under the Conservatives, even though they cut back public services to the bone. It shows that when you try and stop spending money, it doesn't actually mean you save any money. It's not a cost-cutting measure. We're not spending more money elsewhere to fix the crisis of austerity. I mean, even if we go back to train stabbings, right? I don't want to speculate too much because we don't know what's going on, but it's very likely this person was suffering from mental health issues. And if you like gut mental health services, you're going to see these sort of acts happen. And it's something that Reform are unwilling to talk about because they don't care.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, go on.
And why is it public wealth is always there to bail out the private sector?
100%, yeah.
But private wealth is never called upon to save the public sector. That then we have austerity. The public sector has been eroded over the last 50 years, and crisis after crisis, every limb of the public sector has been cut off. But nobody ever seems to ask, who do we owe this £1 trillion to? These are private investors, the foreign investors. Like, I find it baffling that this sort of the wealth has absolutely no barriers. It has no borders, and yet people do. It's just, I find it baffling.
Yeah, I mean, someone should tell Farage that, though. He bangs on about borders, though, but he's absolutely happy with capital flight. In fact, I mean, there was a scandal, I think, was it led by donkeys, found that he was helping rich people get visas in and out of the country. It's like, you're not even principal on immigration. People say, do you know what, Nigel Farage, I disagree with him, but he's principal on this thing. He's not even fucking principal in immigration, right? He likes immigration when you're rich, but if you're poor, you're working class, or Muslim, or person of colour, fucking doesn't like immigration there. And also, yes, we bail out the banks because it's fucking socialism for the rich. Insane.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, go on. If you want to add anything.
Just the Britannia card thing that Reform want to start. Like, it's tax free. You can buy a card that means you never have to pay tax ever again. And yet they're moaning about people coming over on boats like they can possibly take anything from the British economy. Like, I just think the irony is chilling at this point.
Yeah, they certainly love their benefits. Before we move on to our final story, I just want to say that we would like to remind our viewers that we are 5 volunteers keeping this ship going. We do this around our paid jobs. Our goal is to become full-time, meaning we can increase our content, be far more ambitious, and build a sustainable left-wing alternative. Your help has made so much of a difference already. From equipment to covering rallies and interviews, your support means everything. Now, we rely on small donations, so if you want to be part of a media organisation that seeks to destroy the oligarchs, then please head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There you can support us monthly on Patreon, or there is another link for a one-time contribution. You can also become a YouTube member for 99p. But on to our final story. Labour are in full desperation mode after they mass sent an email to those who've quit the party to return. You've been part of this movement before. You were with us when we ended 14 years of Tory failure and the work of change began. And yes, today we're asking you to come back. But before I do, you deserve a good reason to rejoin our party. Now, it's been reported that many have received the same email, and it's clear that Labour are in a spot of bother with their poll numbers being abysmal, the Green Party overtaking them in 2 polls, and even this. Yes, the Labour Party is now less popular than Prince Andrew. I mean, being less popular than an alleged paedophile. It's so over. It's so over. But it was Keir Starmer who said this a couple of years ago, which has now become an infamous clip, which will have its place in the history books.
If you don't like the changes that we've made, I say The door is open and you can leave.
Oh my God, inject that into my veins. It seems, those who've left and those who've kicked out, they want you back, guys. Yeah, they want you back. Oh dear. Well, that's not going to happen. They took your advice, Keir, and found a better home. Louisa, Labour have talked about exit taxes. Now they're clamouring ex-members to come back. Do you think Labour are finally scared of the left?
Well, I hope so, but honestly, I don't know if they're worried. I think they're just hopeless. They know centrist politics is dying and they're just edging their bets. They're playing the populist game. They'll appease one side, they'll appease the left for a little bit, and then they'll go back to talk about immigration. And I just think it's a pathetic game. I don't think Keir Starmer will stay in as leader for very long. And yeah, I just think it's end game really for them now, and they're just trying to see how they can sort of edge the bets.
I mean, are you saying that you think Keir Starmer's probably going to go because we've got the local elections in May? Do you think he
Yeah.
lasts after that?
No, I don't think he will. I think it might be Andy Burnham next, but I don't think Labour realise what they need to do. I don't think Labour are interested in making any real systemic changes. I think they're interested in trying to stay in power, and they will fail on that if they continue to fail on the economy.
Well, I mean, obviously for a few years now, Labour have sort of aped reform because, of course, reform, their whole shtick is anti-immigration. You've seen Labour pitch or tack right on immigration. That's obviously not worked because, as we've said so many times, you're chasing reform voters and reform voters are not going to vote for them. They've signalled for a long time when Keir Starmer became leader, then became prime minister, he signalled that the Labour Party hates the left, you're not to be in the party anymore. This seems like it may be the first time where they're starting to realise maybe we should start woo left-wing voters, because like the whole exit tax thing, I mean, Rachel Reeves talked about those who's not paying taxes, especially wealthy people on their assets, will be forced to pay the tax if they leave. I mean, that's actually quite a good policy. And I feel like there maybe has been a shift for the Labour Party. Whether they implement it or not, I don't think they will. But do you not think that maybe they're realising, oh, fuck, actually tacking right hasn't worked?
I mean, I hope so. I cannot believe that exit taxes aren't a thing. Like, what do you mean that you can leave the country and not pay tax on your assets that you sell? We don't have a choice to pay tax, but you give very rich people. I just don't see how exit taxes aren't common sense already. And you know what's funny? Like, the right are so obsessed with laziness. They hate laziness. But what these people earn from their assets is passive income. They literally do nothing to earn that money. They do nothing. So if you're not taxing that, then truly what they're doing is just driving up inflation, making everybody poorer, and not contributing anything to the economy. So exit taxes absolutely should be a thing, but I think we need to be louder about the fact that it needs to go beyond exit taxes. We need a wealth tax.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're so right there when it's almost like using the right-wing framing, which is the right-wing hate lazy people. They believe in meritocracy. I mean, they don't actually believe in that, but they say they do. And it's like, okay, then, if you believe in meritocracy, let's tax inheritance by 100%. So you start from the ground up. That's the capitalist game you like. And let's tax, tax passive income, because you're not working for that wealth. You're just generating income based on the fact that you have assets that have appreciated in value. And then they're like, no, you can't do that. Because it's almost like the right wing have no sort of political logic. Okay, let's bring in our producer, Sarah. She's been waiting in the wings. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Great show, honestly. Loving the analysis as per usual. So let's just do super chats really quickly. Sorry, let me actually just start again. Thank you so much, Axe, for £10, legend. And also the Good Globalists gifted 2010.
Oh wow, legend!
Which is lovely. Specs, love you as
Good
usual.
to see you, Specs, again.
5 10 left memberships. And I've missed one. Sorry. 2 seconds. Axe then gifted 5 Turn Left memberships as well.
Fucking hell, man, you're gonna run out of money.
Trust me, Steve, 20 Turn Left memberships. Like, honestly, today,
This has
the people in
been
the chat,
sensational. Thank you very much, by the
sensational.
way. It actually means a lot.
It does mean a lot. We're all really grateful. And I don't want to miss anyone out. And then Michael gifted, yes, 1
Thank
Turn
you,
Left
Michael.
membership, which is super great. Right. Rachel said, belated happy 43rd birthday to the Lego Maniac. I don't know who this is.
Who's the Lego
Did
Maniac?
you turn 43, Curtis?
43?
Chris.
Excuse me?
I'm not sure. But let's speak about Tice, because Rachel gifted another $2. Oh, no, sorry. She said they'd rather go to therapy than talk economics. It's not about Tice, but that was something that she'd mentioned earlier. And then she said this, another $2 from Rachel. So thank you so much, Rachel. You've done a lot for us today. Is Tice, I think this is Make America Healthy Again curious? Is it Make UK Healthy Again? Eugenics spreads
I guess
far.
it means that, yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting stuff. But let's go from the top about the train story. So Spec said, funny how all the right wingers care about the train staff now. And it's true. Like, you actually pointed to something really important, Curtis, that violent crime is going down, but they don't seem to care about knife crime. I don't think they cared about knife crime before, and they don't seem to care about it now, but they will selectively care about it when it confirms their biases. And what I've been seeing on TikTok at the moment, and I've taken massive breaks off TikTok, and I recently went back regrettably, but on there are lots of people who are saying, well, just because he's born in Britain does not mean that he's British. And it's like, no, it does mean that he is British. So it's insane that a lot of people are kind of echoing that rhetoric at the moment. But it's true. A lot of people and I hate doing this like spit thing, but it does feel like the right are the ones that are doing this. That the right were complaining and whinging that the train staff were going on strikes and like they get paid enough, don't they? Rah, rah, rah. And then when it comes to their safety, now they care about it. So there is a bit of, I don't know, double standard.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, most strikes are often about safety and conditions. Obviously, pay is involved in that, right? But they didn't do any digging to see that actually a lot of the RMT go on strike to protect train guards. And to the right, that's why I used the Daily Mail as an example. Like, what's they getting a bonus? Train guards getting a bonus? Well, fuck yeah, they should get a bonus because they're having to deal with this bullshit. I mean, even though crime is going down, when it comes to the railways, it's going up, and staff are facing so much abuse. But again, it's the right-wing virtue signaling. It's like, we don't care about actually making life better. We don't care about systemic economic policies. But when shit hits the fan, let's blame Sadiq Khan. And by the way, someone has blamed Sadiq Khan. It was outside London, but apparently it's Khan's fault.
It reminds me so much as well of the whole like save the girls rhetoric.
Yeah.
Like, they'll use it when it's useful. But I don't know if you saw that video of that girl who she stood up at that Tommy Robinson march and was talking about, I was groomed by a group of men and they were all white, you should all be ashamed. And they dragged her off stage. They don't care about women's rights, but they will use these really, like we're saying, like emotional topics when it benefits them, and it's just so dangerous.
You're so right. They use these awful atrocities. They make victims a footnote in all of this so that they can assert their agendas, and more often than not, they are racist agendas. So you're absolutely right with that, Louisa. Ian said it's the second person who was initially arrested was presumably an example of either bystanders assuming he was black, so he was also a criminal, or the police assuming the same. Either way, not great. And it's true. Like, yesterday I went for a run and I was listening to Sky News as I was running, regressively as well. I don't know why I'm just not listening to music. Like, it's like I want to be angry as I'm running, but they had said that there were 2 black men, and then obviously later we'd find out that one of them was released because he wasn't actually involved. So there is obviously still that racialization of people, and then this assumption that they have a predisposition to commit a certain type of crime because of the fact that they are of a certain race. So it does highlight, again, I think, systemic failures when it comes to the way that they treat black and brown people in this country with policing. So yeah.
Well, it was weird because the initial police report was like the second person. We were told about the second person in good faith. What do you mean by that? As opposed to bad faith? I mean, are you covering tracks there? Like, we don't know what went down, but it might be like, there's a black guy there who's been arrested. There's another one.
Yeah.
He could be involved. I don't know.
Yeah, and Sky News reported it as his name. Obviously, it's like a really British name, isn't it? But he said
Yeah,
like of
Anthony.
Caribbean descent, and it's like, how far back have you gone? Like,
I
how,
know, right?
Yeah.
you know, who is it? His grandparent, great grandparent? Like, what does it? Why is it that much that you don't? If a white man stabs someone, it doesn't say of British descent. You know, his great grandparent was
Polish or
British.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
or like a white British national, right? You're so
Yeah.
right. And it ties, what you said ties in really nicely to Ian's comment again. Sorry, Ian, I'm picking on you, but I didn't like the police said black British national. Why not just say British born national, or just, yeah, just like British national? Why does their colour make a difference? The fact of the matter is that this is someone who was born and bred in Britain, and has committed a really, really violent act, which is obviously atrocious. But again, it's like mainstream media wants to manufacture this anger and wants, it's almost as though these culture, I don't know why, maybe they benefit from these culture wars because it gives them something to report on, it gives them traction from people, I'm not sure, but I don't know what they're trying to gain by saying this, but I know that if they don't, people will be hounding them for it too.
Well, I think the police are doing that because if you remember back when Liverpool were celebrating their Premier League, the ceremony, and obviously that guy drove into those people, it was a white guy, and they said he was white straight away, and they explicitly said the reason why we're giving you the details of this person straight away is one, because we've actually arrested the person, but two, because there's been so much speculation, specifically racist speculation, that we've been forced to come out and say, okay, it's a white guy. Usually we would withhold that. So they said we're breaking our own policy on this. So now I think the police are I'm not here to, I don't usually defend the police, right? But I think they're doing this because so many races have been like, why aren't you telling us the color of the person? Not that it fucking matters, but they're almost forced to do it now. And it means that they're not being careful and going over the facts, then releasing it. Like, we don't actually need to know. Like, as soon as something happens, why do we need to know, right? The police need to know. And the emergency services need to know so they can deal with it. And that's it. We actually don't really need to know, but everyone's clamoring. I want to know where he's from. I want to know if he's an immigrant, what religion he is, what color he is. And then I want to make my political bias off of that. We are living in a fucking crazy world.
Yeah.
But politics is constantly, the far right are looking for a catalyst every single time. That's what they're looking for. And this sort of violence gives them an excuse to also be violent. And honestly, like, it's so 1930s coded. You know, if you look at Crystal Nacht, you know, the Night of Broken Glass, anything like that, this is exactly what happened. Like, it's just fueled towards this anger and this pain, and then scapegoats. And we need to start having actual conversations about just where we are in history repeating itself again.
I think it's when you bring that up, then you get the media established. You go, oh, you can't use these labels. It's actually very dangerous to use these labels. Like, fucking crybullies. Like, they will enact policies or support policies that are inherently violent. And then you say, you drop the F word, which is fascist. Okay. And they're like, you can't say that. You can't say that. By the way, here's Matt Goodwin, who went on Novara Media and basically talked about race science, who gets his own fucking show on GB News now. Well, I'm just concerned about ordinary things. Fuck off. It's crazy. Like, again, they're like the crybullies. They give shit. They say whatever they want, and then you say something they don't like. They're suddenly, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's just like when Sarah, Sarah, what's her last name?
Is it Everard?
No, Putchin.
Oh, no, sorry. Sarah Pochin.
Pochin, sorry. When
Yeah,
she
yeah,
said
yeah.
what she said about people, you know, black and brown people being on TV, and then Dawn Butler in Parliament mentioned it and was like, I think what's being said is racist, and Dawn Butler's a black woman, and then this speaker goes, retract your statement. Retract it. It's like, so Sarah can say what she can say openly, which is openly racist, and when she's called out on that racism and she's called a racist, you are then told, and you're policing a black woman in saying this. No, you cannot be calling out the racism. Like, don't call her a racist. So there is so selective. We've got quite a few comments to get through, sorry, because it's quite a busy comment section today. But Leo said the fact that fascists are stating the attacker was shouting Allahu Akbar.
That was literally bullshit, yeah.
When this was reported by eyewitnesses, tells you everything. And it's true, never reported, but misinformation being spread. I think it's not even misinformation, it's disinformation. People are intentionally trying to to spread some sort of agenda. And Louisa, this one's for you. It's a nice break from all the comments. Louisa's great. You need to get her on more. First time I'm seeing her, but I'm impressed. She's amazing.
Thanks,
She's
guys.
amazing. On to the second story. I don't know how to say this name, sorry, but he said, is he arguing the walk will do them good? And this is on the second story that you did, Curtis. It feels like it, doesn't it? It's like, oh, like let them walk a bit further.
Well, I mean, so what I think he's trying to say is it's crazy that this is the cost of it, because obviously Reform have been talking about the fact that we've been spending so much money, and he's saying, like, how are we spending £2 billion on getting kids with special needs to school? It's unsustainable, right? The reason why I've attacked him, though, because he's not saying, oh, actually, why is it costing so much? It's because he's saying it's costing a lot, yet he then supports the economic policies that underline it. So why is it costing £2 billion to send kids with special needs to school? Because, as we've outlined, they've had to go further. So transport costs are up because their local school doesn't provide the service that they need, the support that they need. And that's because we've had 15 years of austerity. So that's why it's not a cost-cutting measure, because what you do is you cut everything to the bone, and then you get loads of social problems, and then you end up spending loads of money to fix it. So actually, like, austerity, and that's why the debt has gone up under the Conservatives. This is why people cannot understand that austerity is such a stupid economic policy, because the Conservatives will say we need to rein in the spending, but then the debt goes up. Because unfortunately, we live in a society, we do. We have to spend money on things. And when you stop spending money on things, you create further social problems down the line, and then you've got to try and fix it last minute, and it costs more money. So it would be cheaper if we funded schools properly, had provision for services for children with special needs in their local school, which means we have to send them as far, which means it'll be cheaper. There's other things involved, which is like higher wages, right? That's good. We want higher wages. Like, things are going to cost more money in the long run. You just have, like, people have to accept that, and maybe we have to accept in the future, not just the rich pay more taxes, but maybe everyone does. You know, look at, I don't know, some northern European countries. Some people pay like 50% taxes, right? And guess what? They're like, I'm cool with it, because they get this. They get amazing public services. Honestly, I'd vote for a government that said, we'll put all your tax up to, like, the lowest is 20%. If they said, I'm putting your tax up to 30%, but then they said transport's free, internet is free, not all services, but you got a bunch of basic services that was included in that 10%. I'd be like, yeah, because it would save you money in the long run. So that's kind of what he's arguing for. It's like, we shouldn't be spending that much money on it. But for me, I'm like, okay, maybe the cost is inflated, but spends that money anyway because we've got to protect these kids. He would happily, like, gut that, and then you've just basically got kids with special needs with nowhere to go.
Well, as well, like, you are just lining the pockets of private businesses. It's like when you defund the NHS, people have to go private. You know, Reform strategically don't put in their manifesto that they're going to defund the NHS. They say they're going to cut taxes for private health companies. You know, so it's a strategy that, if you don't provide in these welfare and these public services, then people will have to take it out of their own pocket. And that's what happens in the US. And about 40,000 people die every year because they don't have health insurance. That's what will happen here. And it'll be the same, you know. And it is music to my ears that you talk about the Nordic countries like this, Curtis, because obviously I'm Danish and my dad would definitely agree. Like, he came to the UK and he's like, what are you all doing? What are you doing? Like, it just does not make any sense, you know. And people are happy to pay the taxes because, you know, you're not on waiting lists. And if you there's something with the cancer treatment in Denmark. If you cannot get the cancer treatment that you need within a certain amount of time, they will pay for you to go somewhere else and get it. So it can be done. It can be done, guys.
Do you know what's funny though? I saw a series of polls that says what the British people want no austerity. They want to increase spending on public services, but they don't want to increase their taxes. And I think the reason why people think like that is, one, obviously, like, if I mean, it's kind of obvious. Oh, I want to spend more money on public services without spending more money in my pocket, right? But I also think it's because no one's actually made the case to increase taxes. Like the left has made the case to increase taxes on the rich, support that as a political project, but no one on the left has said, actually, I want a new social contract. Yes, we're going to raise taxes on the rich, but I think we should raise everyone's taxes, but you're going to get this. I can see people may buy into that because this will be the plan. But the reason why if you were to ask people, do you want to pay more taxes? Most people would say no. It's because no one's actually made the argument that we will do this for you if you do pay more taxes.
Exactly.
And I think it might take a lot of convincing, given the fact that, like, it's strange. A lot of people in this country are like, oh, we pay a lot of tax. We really fucking don't. And some people are like, I don't want to pay any more taxes. But I think personally that people aren't necessarily against taxes. They just feel like they're getting a rip-off. And they sort of are. When you have privatization, austerity, and you're paying taxes, it feels like a rip-off. When you're being fed a media narrative that actually all your taxes are going on people on benefits, then you feel like you're being ripped off. But I think what like Denmark and Sweden and Norway are doing fantastically well on is basically people understand they're getting a fucking good bang for their buck for what they're paying for.
Yeah, and I think like that distrust is something that's going to be really, really difficult to unravel in the UK, because we don't trust the politicians. We paid national insurance. We have an NHS. We love the NHS. You know, we stood outside and clapped for the NHS. But there doesn't seem to there's still NHS waiting list. Where's that £350 million? That's meant to be. So I think everybody does believe in the public services, but they just don't believe that however many times whoever says it, it's not truly gonna go there. And I think that distrust is gonna take a very long time, as any trust does once it's broken, to repair.
I 100% agree with that.
Really great points. I love it when they do things with names.
Dick likes listen to buy.
He does. He spends his time.
Good on Simon.
Oh god, this is why I get into trouble, so I need to stop. Right. Ian and Tic Tac said the same thing. Farage sounds a lot like Reeves. And they are kind of just cut from the same cloth. They're all just like you said. You said it, Curtis. They are pro business. Like that is what it's all about. When they are pro-business, they don't care about people.
I also left the Lib Dems off that. I mean, they are sort of pro-business. They are liberals, right? They're not obviously not leftist, but yeah, I would say that they are pro-business kind of, because they're sort of traditionally free marketeers. It's just that they're not as bad as Labour, the Tories, and Reform. So that's why I said those three. But yeah, like we can include the Lib Dems in that. Like I don't give a fuck about the piss diamonds anyway. I mean, the Greens are the party that I think are half decent anyway.
Yeah. And then Tim Wood just said, super austerity is coming, and the working class reform voters are going to have a shock along with their disabled voters. I don't even know if they'll be shocked. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be shocked. I don't want to see it happen where working class voters are put into an even more awful position because they're voting for someone who is very much part of the establishment. So I don't know what the future holds, but if the likes of Farage were to hypothetically ever get into power, then we are looking at a real awful time when it comes to austerity. Just another Tory-esque government coming in.
Well, yeah, it's like turkeys voting for Christmas. It's so frustrating. It's a wolf is literally, goading these sheep, and it's so frustrating, to try and have that conversation without making people feel stupid either, because this is all predicated on manufactured ignorance as well.
Oh, yeah.
They purposely ensure that there is only one narrative, and that they're defunding education systems, and they're making university education sound like a waste of money and stuff like that. Like, my whole channel is all about how we can't have a democracy without informed citizens. Like, you need to start critically thinking, otherwise you are literally bait. You are easy pickings, and if we don't start having conversations with people and challenging what they really believe and what they really feel about the future, then we're gonna lose.
Yeah, agreed.
Sorry, Sarah, I didn't cut you off. I saw someone complain about that woman who was on Question Time saying I'm on PIP for anxiety. I don't think she actually said it was for that reason, right? But this person said, I'm on PIP, I've got all these physical disabilities. They sounded like really tough. And she was like, I'm really annoyed that this person's just taking it for anxiety. Again, it's more complicated than that. But I'm like, I get it. Because obviously, if you feel like you are in a very vulnerable position and you have a lot of physical disabilities and you feel like you see someone who doesn't need it is on it, I can understand that anger. But like, reason why I feel like anyone, like no one's immune to propaganda is that, yeah, all is well saying that person doesn't need it and I'm angry. Those that are going to take it off that person who you don't think needs it is also going to take it off you. Like when people cut benefits, they say, we're cutting benefits of those who don't actually need the benefits, right? Do you honestly believe that they're going to go, oh, but you need it, so we're definitely going to protect you? No, we've heard that rhetoric over and over again, and we know what the DWP has done under successive governments. The DWP has killed people, has taken benefits and sanctioned people when we know they've been very, very ill. People who've been sanctioned, told you're fit to work, the next day they have a fucking heart attack. Like, they've gone after people who need it. So when people think, oh, actually, don't worry, I'm safe, and I'm annoyed at those who are flaking the system, like, trust me, they're going after you too.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I don't care about disabled people getting more money. Give them more money.
Same.
Like, I care about why billionaires have £1 billion in the bank. That's the people that we should be annoyed about.
That's
I don't
amazing.
care if somebody over like a few quid a week. Like, realistically, how much are they getting? Just about enough, probably, to cover the rent, the food, and that's about it. You know, what about billionaires? They're sat on a massive surplus.
Yeah.
Why aren't we getting angry at them? Every time my nana brings this up, because she reads the Daily Mail.
Oh, God.
Honestly.
Shit.
It's not easy, but I've managed to at least get her to not vote. So that's one less vote for
Okay.
her.
Okay, fair. I tell you what,
That's
Louisa,
funny.
you're fucking cooking there, but it's so true. Like,
It's true.
honestly, when people say to me, but are you not annoyed that, like, some people are cheating the system? I'm going to be completely fucking honest with you, right? I don't give a fuck. And the reason why I don't give a fuck is because priorities matter to me. Once we've dealt with the tax evaders and avoiders, once we've dealt with the fact that billionaires shouldn't exist, once we've dealt with the fact that the very richest in society control our fucking democracy, well, we don't really have a democracy, once they stop fucking putting up our rents and controlling our lives, then I might go, okay, should you really claim benefits? But until any of that fucking happens, right, I do not care because I care about priorities. There is nothing you can do that will get me angry about anyone claiming benefits. Now, by the way, the overwhelming majority of people need it, right? Like, I'm not going to buy, like, it's bullshit that they don't, but the 0.1% who may not need it, I'm sorry, I don't care when you've literally got fucking Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, is making his workers piss in fucking bottles because they don't get enough time off from their work and they're on minimum wage. You really want me to care about someone claiming a couple £100 per week when we've got this going on? Absolutely no fucking way.
It's not that deep. It's actually not that deep. Like I was having this conversation yesterday with.
Interesting.
I'm not going to bait them out actually, but I will with someone in particular who is close. But it's my partner's dad. He doesn't watch Time Left. It's all right. My partner's dad, and he was saying, "Oh, Lee Anderson was saying I'm really, really, really insightful recently." Rah rah rah. Saying that we should be angry about the person next door who's got a PIP car and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
I was like, you need to wake up, insert name here. We are literally in a war against the working classes, and I think you are a victim of this propaganda. You are looking in the wrong direction. Please look at the likes of Lee Anderson and the people that surround him, because they are the ones who are utilizing these tax loopholes and not paying their fair share. And if they actually paid their fair share, because they are capable of doing so, we wouldn't actually be suffering the way that we are. So yeah, I agree. I'm not worried about Sally down the road who may or may not have a bimmer or like a PIP car. I really don't care about that. I think that is some manufactured bullshit that people are trying to like propagate and like really just get out there. What I am worried about are the super rich who keep taking so much from us as the working people. We are the contributors of wealth. We are the creators of wealth. We are the ones that should be waking up a little bit, I think. So
also, I think we need to rethink work. Like, why is work this most virtuous thing you can possibly do on this planet? Like, and the actual work that is the most valuable in society, people don't get paid for. Like being a mother or a father, you know, these sort of things are absolutely essential to society. Being a nurse, they're so underpaid. So it's not even a true value system of work. And like, what do you mean that this planet means you have to work till you're about 75 years old, 40 hours a week? Put me on a different one, honestly.
True. And it's almost like that's the only way for you to be respected in society. Like if you are a worker,
it's your value.
It's your value.
But have either of you read Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber?
Yeah, so good. So good.
And it's the thing is though, what's so enlightening about that book is even though like I agreed with his premise anyway, there's so much like unproductive work out there where people get paid so much money. Like, being a particular consultant, where if you didn't have that job and no one filled that job, like nothing would change about the world, and they get paid fucking loads of money.
Yeah.
But as soon as if no one did the minimum wage jobs, oh wow, the world would literally end. Yet we pay them fuck all. But like we need to and the left really needs to talk about the relationship of work, as in like even important work. We need to start thinking, why do we have to spend our entire lives working? Does that make me radical by saying maybe we should be working 40, 50, 60 hours per week? Like, I mean, John Maynard, I always bring this point. I love this point. John Maynard Keynes in the 1930s said that in 2030, people will be working 15-hour weeks.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near that. We're nowhere fucking near that. But why not? Why can't we work 15-hour weeks, 3 months paid leave? Why fucking not? We can if we all banded together. We absolutely could, because we've got a world to win. But we're so propagandized that we're like, oh, you work less than 40 hours, you fucking lazy bastards. I work 60, 70-hour days in my day.
Yeah.
And
my day.
Sorry, Sarah.
No, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm ad-libbing.
This whole like revolution that we're on the precipice of with AI, this could be the freedom from work. If anybody's read Fully Automated Luxury Communism,
yeah, I've read that. That was one of my first books I read. Actually.
We could get rid of this sort of like bureaucratic. I'm not saying I'm not on the side of AI, but it's a possibility. When computers started, to be normalized, to be part of work, people were like, yeah, we're going to work 3 days. Yeah. But no, it just enslaves us more. Now we never stop working. We never stop checking our emails. It has a paradoxical effect. And that is intentional. We need to aggressively imagine a better world, guys. We need to aggressively imagine an alternative to this, because I just don't, there is another way. So we just need to get really imaginative, I feel.
You're absolutely right. Great conversation. Right, I'll wrap up with a few more comments. Carl said it's the logic of it feeds in really nicely to what you guys were saying a little bit earlier. It's the logic of not feeding 100 kids just in case one of them is lying about not having food. Then they go on about that one kid lying, painting the most vivid and vile picture of them. It's absolutely true. And I think we'll go to just this last one from Ian again. Labour in the same situation. This was the last story. Labour in the same situation the Tories were after the Boris landslide, completely complacent and arrogant, thinking they have a mandate despite polls showing people are outraged at them, which I thought was quite interesting. Autumn's comment was quite funny. Love my flag, love my missus, love me local, simple as. And then
to be fair, I wish right wingers were like that, but they're actually not. No. I wish love my flag, love my missus, love my pint. That's it. But no, they're like, oh wow. Yeah. Oh Israel. Oh, I love Israel.
Sorry. So
hate the immigrants, hate the asylum seekers, hate the disabled kids, hate the anxious people. They don't love it.
So it's like, wear a fucking helmet. Back in my day. Shut up. Anyway, did you heart this? Did you? Sorry,
I might have done.
Did you start this? I need Kurt to be a guest at Crystal Kyle and Friends.
I need to be guest at Crystal Kyle Friends. Zeke, if you're in their chat, fucking put us in a good word, because I will say this, and this is fanboying a little bit, but Kyle Klinsky was my inspiration to start YouTube. Just saying.
Oh.
Don't
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, cute.
Cute. But on that note, honestly, it's been a really, really. Ooh, I don't know how to get rid of that comment. Sorry.
What do you mean? Oh,
been a really, really great show. Thank you so much, guys. I'm gonna.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Sarah. I really enjoyed that comment section. Actually, really lively chat. But of course, that is all we have time for. Thank you to our viewers who tuned in, and of course, thank you to Louisa. Absolutely impeccable stuff again. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're gonna make sure you're back on again, whether you like it or not. Remember to like the stream, and if you're not a subscriber, then hit that button. Now, if you want us to grow, then you can head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. there is a link to our Patreon where you can support us monthly or follow the other link to give us a one-time contribution. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.